The following is an excerpt from the journal of Professor Deborah Winterfield, dated April 10th, 1999, and recovered from the lowermost desk drawer of room, on floor, of, building, Oxford, UK. Tense has been shifted from past to present, and descriptions have been amended with the aid of photographs and accessed video footage from the event, discovered amongst the material in the basement storage. My research continues. DG XX 11/21 April 10th. The monument stands sick and alone in the flooded, waterlogged jungle clearing. The rain is a constant, blurred rush against the enormous canopy leaves overhead, and the party is wearied beyond words. Evan scratches the rash on his neck. It has grown into a grim pink-red stain that reaches up and onto his jaw. He pushes his wet fringe from his eyes. "That's it. That has to be it," he says, looking ahead past the enormous rain-soaked hanging leaves. And sure enough, in the center of the clearing stands the monument for which our quest was arranged. We've walked and trekked through the rainforest for the better part of a week. And there it stands, just where we'd hoped it would be, more or less. The others trudge up from behind and join us alongside, and the exhaustion in their faces is illuminated in the orange glow from the sky. From the breaks in the swirling cloud where the evening sun strikes through overhead, the rainwater trickles down their faces and drips from their drenched-through shirts. "I fucking knew it. I knew it. You took your sweet-ass time getting us all here, Deb. But there it is." Evan grins. "The stress, the nightmares, the whispering in the forest. We actually found it. We found the cursed thing." "Huh. Looks like I owe you a pint then, Professor," Dave mutters as he rubs his jaw. "Never thought we'd find the thing. And God, even looking at it, it's sick." I follow his gaze and turn back to the monument, somewhat blurred through the rain, but still plenty clear enough. The rain splashes and rushes in the shallow pool that surrounds the monument's base, and the stone of its body rises up from the water and up above our heads towards the trees. I step out from the undergrowth and make my way across the clearing towards it, a hand shielding my eyes. The monument has the appearance of a hunched and roped figure, carved from ancient rock and easily twice as tall as any man. Its face is an expressionless skull, and a series of intricate stone feathers cover its visible arm, the fingers on the hand outstretched and cracked. Two of these fingers are missing, and rain drops from the broken joints to the pool below. I look down to this water now as I approach the base, suppressing a sudden swell of queasiness. I know what Dave means. Even simply looking at the monument puts me on edge. A bright purple gold butterfly flutters past through the rain. It draws my eyes, and I watch welcomingly, happy to be spared momentarily to the sickening sensation of the monument. The butterfly flies around Molly's head and towards the monument's base, and my attention drifts from the creature to something else. Something at the ancient monument's base. Half submerged there by the pooling water is a small stone figurine. A miniature, it looks like, of the actual monument itself. "Everything's dead here, Professor," Aaliyah murmurs from behind me as the rain falls. "Excuse me?" I'll reply, still looking down at the stone miniature in the rippling pool. "She's right," Evan mutters. "Jesus, use your eyes, Deborah." Irritated, I turn to look around at what they're talking about. The flowers all around us, I notice for the first real time, are indeed all dead, withered and ruined, decreasing in size and vibrancy of color as they draw closer to the monument. "Doesn't make sense," Dave grunts, adjusting the gun he has strapped to his belt. I do a quick visual check to ensure that the rest of the team are still carrying their own. Why would they die in a place like this? Why would anything die? Everything here is supposed to be suited to the rain. Froggy doesn't like it either, Molly says quietly to my left. She squirms and adjusts her backpack before deciding to remove it entirely and to open it up. Froggy what? Evan replies. Dave grimaces and watches as Molly brushes her wet hair behind an ear and draws a jar from the top of her back. The rain taps and glistens against the glass. She holds it up, and sure enough, we can see the ugly little frog inside jumping and pressing itself against the jar walls. Specimen C, or as Molly has named it, Froggy. Molly coughs and clears her throat as she holds the jar up for us to see. Why is he doing this? He was fine before. Remember how calm he was when we scooped him up? He feels it too. What we're all feeling, Aaliyah says. Take a closer look to the ground. There isn't any grass at the edge of the pool. It's hard to tell as it's all submerged, but we're standing on nothing but wet mulch. She looks at me. It's dead. It's all dead here. Let's not linger then, chaps, I say as I step into the monument's surrounding pool. The water comes up past my feet, and I lean towards the stone with a vial in my hand, gloved of course. In the center of the statue is a groove in which water streams from within before cascading down and into the pool below. Not immediately obvious thanks to the rain, but I collect a fair sample in the vial nonetheless, corking it and stowing it away into a backpack's side pocket. Evan squats and edges past me a little deeper into the pool. He hooks up a ball of phlegm and spits it out to the side before running his hands over the miniature figure, the little copy of the monument half submerged in the shimmering waters. That's disgusting, mate, Dave says in a grim voice, arms folded. Get over it, pansy, Evan replies as he taps a finger on the miniature's head. Deborah, take a look at this. He points to the miniature's hand, and I squint. The little statue is missing 2 of its fingers. A quick glance up above confirms that it's the exact same 2 as the larger monument. Interesting, I murmur, as the purple gold butterfly flitters past. We watch as it goes, as it lands on the edge of the stone pool in the monument center. The rain patters against the rock, and the butterfly quickly returns to the air. And then, it vanishes. I blink, but quick as a flash, the butterfly is gone. What the? Aaliyah turns to us, raising a hand to point at the space the butterfly once occupied. You see that? Prof, you saw? I saw it, I reply, rubbing my temple in thought. I think we should back up a little bit. Evan, let that little statue go. Carefully, and do as I do. Take a few steps back. Thunder rumbles in the distance across the far jungle mountains. Evan! Dave barks above the sound of the rush of the rain growing all around us. And Evan stands up in response, turning to face us, the little stone copy of the monument held in his hand. Water drips from the thing into the pool at his feet, and by the time the first droplet has splashed into the shimmer, Evan too has gone. Fuck! Someone exclaims, and they all draw back in a sudden chaotic rush. Steady, I say through gritted teeth, arms held out in warning. For God's sake. But they don't listen to me. None but Dave, I think. It's hard to tell through the rain and from the corners of my eyes. The sounds of the rain increase tenfold. And then it too comes to an immediate stop. All the rain still held in the air falls to the ground with a torrential splash. But no more comes from the sky. The rain was, and then it wasn't. I am struck with a painful and stomach-churning sense of vertigo and let out in an involuntary cry as my world rotates around me. A sensation I will struggle to ever portray accurately. I feel as if my inner spirit is somehow sent out and around my own body. I stagger and collapse to the ground. Someone else knocks up against me. and as quickly as the sensation began, it evaporates. And around us, the world is changed. My head is against the ground. Ahead of me is Froggy's jar, and the frog has ceased his frantic attacks on the glass, now simply discolored and shivering. I see the flowers all around, those same dead and decayed old flowers, the layers of mulch, but it's nowhere near as wet as it was before. Groggily, I set myself up and climb to my feet. There is the monument, as ancient and twisted as ever. There is my team, Molly, Dave, and Aaliyah, in various states of queasiness. Around us in a wide, rough circle are the ruined flowers and darkened ground where the last of the rain had fallen. But beyond the circle, the earth is bone dry, if it can even be called earth at all. Jesus, I murmur in amazement at the sights before me, and the groans of my team are lost quickly to stunned and awe silences of their own. Our place in plane has changed, it would seem. I clench my fists and tap them against my hips in thought. I can hear Molly start to sob in panic behind. "Quiet, girl," Dave grunts. "Take a minute. We'll be alright." But I can hear the fear in his own voice too. He's not as tough as he pretends to be. Aaliyah remains quiet, though I can see the wonder in her face. We are nowhere that I recognize. I do not know where we are now, but the jungle is gone. The horizon is far and foreign. Purple streaked with rivers of amber, the colors bleed upwards into an alien sky. A sky filled with the ruins and wreckage of the land. Even as I watch, great and slow chunks of mountains split from their faraway ranges and are drawn upwards, floating lazily but dutifully up towards the clouds. Incredible, I whisper to myself, heart pumping, fear rising, but doing my best to keep it down. Evan? Molly manages to say through sharp intakes of breath. We need to get him. We need to get him and get home. You know he's not good by himself. Remember when? I cut her off. We'll get him, Molly. We'll find him. Right. Think, guys. Think quickly. Circumstances change very quickly. What did we see? What do we remember? There was a butterfly. The rain came to a sudden stop. Evan took the totem from the pool. And here we are. Anything I'm missing? Not just us, Dave replies, looking around. The air is warmer here. I can't see any trees around us now, nor indeed anything green at all. It wasn't just us that were transported, the monument as well, and the ground around us, the flowers, the mulch. None of the grass though, none of the trees or vines. I ponder. Professor, please, Molly says, coming up close to me. Her eyes start anxiously around at our new surroundings as something rumbles low and long in the darkness. A mountain quietly cracks at the edge of hearing. Professor, we need to get back. The water, Aaliyah puts forward. Maybe it's something to do with the water. The pool at the monument's base. We look at it and realize for the first time that the water continues to ripple and shimmer, as if assaulted by falling rain. And yet, the air around us all now is bone dry. There is a splash right by the edge, closest to Molly. And she jumps. Though, curiously, I did not see any source for this splash. And just like that, the world begins to warp. Fuck! Dave shouts, grabbing the sides of his head. We're going again. Seems we are, I mutter, setting my jaw as that sickening sensation of twisted carousel-like vertigo returns. As the world is shifted violently around its axis, and we are brutally torn once again. From one where to another. With a tremor of vibrations through the ground, our world ceased their shifting, and this time I am able to keep my feet as Dave and Aaliyah are thrown to the ground. Molly staggers and lands in the pool with a large splash, dry heaving and whimpering as lightning strikes fast overhead. I grit my teeth and rub the sides of my head, vision blurred as I try to take in our new surroundings. The monument and its pool remain to my right, and as I turn, I see that same circle of dead and decayed rainforest matter crunched beneath our feet. But beyond is the rift. Terror strikes me. A noise of dismay escapes my mouth as I take a retreating, clumsy step. We stand on an island adrift in the void. Above and below me are one and the same. Shard-like shapes of hardened vortex swirl amidst the chaos. And far away, a single enormous eye watches over us all. Enormous beyond size, really. Colossal. A piece of the sky itself, if indeed one can call it a sky at all. The eye is black and red, lidless, and swirled with distant stars. Fear, Aaliyah says in a voice strained with effort. Dave turns to look at her as he clambers to his feet. But Molly ignores her, still in the water where she fell. She stares up and out at the great eye, held above the infinite horizon. The ethereal red-purple light swims across her face, and the stars reflect in her pupils, wide and terrified. This place is fear. It's hell, Aaliyah mutters, scratching at her shoulders, shaking. Molly grips her jar a little tighter, and I glance down to it. I don't think she noticed it yet. But the poor frog inside appears sadly to have died. We'll be next. I think aloud, and am surprised by the exhaustion I feel from simply speaking. This place, this plane, it's not fit for the likes of us. So, how do we get back? Stardust billows around my feet. Dave steps towards me, using great effort in doing so, as if fighting against a strong wind. He grabs my shoulders. "Professor?" he says into my face. "Professor, come on. What's our way back? What's our way back?" "Pull yourself together," I reply, pushing him off. "This is unlike you." I rack my brains as I stare out at the terrible cosmos, the shimmering shards and the alien eye, the eye of the atmosphere itself. We were thrown out the second that the idol was taken, I say, thinking on the little stone statue that Evan pulled from the monument's pool. It's out of sorts. Perhaps further disturbances in the water or what sends us out from world to world? I could get us back, I think. For sure. But I need the idol. "The water?" Molly says, tearing her gaze away from that of the ice and looking down at the pool that surrounds the monument. The pool she finds herself in now, still shimmering with the assault of invisible rain. "Professor," says Aaliyah, "how are we going to find Evan?" Molly splashes around in the water. She throws out an arm and sends ripple across its surface. Water strikes up against the stone of the monument, and as the spray is carried across the rock, Molly is vanished. Here and then, gone, shifted. "Molly?" Aaliyah shouts out after her. But Molly cannot be seen. "Wait," David mutters, and he puts out a hand. I narrow my eyes and step closer to the monument's pool. Molly may be gone, but the splashes and ripples and waves she was making in the water, well, those things continue, as if made now by an invisible force. And they're not the only thing either. The jar that Molly held, tucked under her arm, the jar that contained the corpse of Froggy, has vanished along with Molly herself. But the frog, however, has not. We watch, in confusion and horror, as the deceased frog is jerked from place to place, held impossibly in mid-air. His body knocks up against the glass that we cannot see. "Molly?" Aaliyah calls out, and I join her. "Molly, are you still there? Can you hear us? Please, let us know you can hear us." But nothing happens. I roll up a sleeve that has come down as I march across the mulch to the edge of the pool. I cannot help but grunt and sweat as a growing and unwelcome throbbing burns into the sides of my head. My stomach lurches in distress. This place, the traveling between, we're being steadily poisoned. And, as if in response to this thought, the ground starts to move from beneath us. Or at least, that's the sensation. The cosmos above and all around are blurred, and that disorienting whirl of change is swept about our heads. Everything becomes a mixed and merged smear of light and color. Everything but the forsaken monument at the center of it all, tall and twisted and watching over the chaos in stone silence. "Professor?" I hear, from somewhere. But the world is sent racing away from me before I can get a sense of where it came from. And again, the whirling stops. I am, as before, thrown to the ground into the mulch and amongst the dead flowers. The hammering in my head increases its battering. Groggily, I raise my head with effort to look upon our new wearer. Aaliyah groans and vomits. The monument, its pool and its circle of decay now appear to sit atop a cliff of shining black stone. Looking out to sea, I watch as glimmering silver waves crash and froth in curious circles, as they dance beneath a golden sky, gold to lime as it draws near to the waters below. Birds caw in the air above, and this air is rich with the smell of surf and salt. The butterfly flits past my face, deep metallic yellow and purple. It flies and flashes through our lines of sight. Around the cliffside is nothing but shrubbery, the occasional rock and... "Evan!" Dave calls out. "Evan?" And yes, I see him. I see our teammate, hunched with his head in his hands, the idol in his lap, just beyond the edge of the circle of mulch amongst the rocks. "Evan?" I call out in return. But he does not look up or acknowledge our presence. I watch as Dave blinks with bloodshot eyes, as he staggers to his feet, and, with some drawn from inner force, starts running from the monument towards him. "Wait!" I try to call out. "Dave, just wait!" But he either fails to hear me or chooses to ignore me. I watch his shadow darken as he approaches the circle's border. He reaches a hand out for Evan. And the second the two connect, they both disappear. Just like that. It's almost like I can see the air rush rapidly and hungrily into the space that they occupied. But that could just be my poisoned imagination. Fuck's sake. I turn to the rest of my team. Except the rest of my team is just Aaliyah now. It's just her and I, and the corpse of Froggy, who has now fallen to the ground beside the rim of the pool. Peering closer reveals the frog isn't actually touching the ground. There is a space between the two. I reach out a hand to see if I'm able to pick up the poor frog. And in doing so, the monument restarts its sickening ritual. "No!" Aaliyah screams. "No more, please. I can't take this. I'm going to die here. Professor, what do we do?" But I don't know what to do. The idol needs to be returned to the pool below the monument. And maybe more. But that much at least is clear. What more is there for us to do? Hop randomly from world to world? Until what? We find our way home? A bubble of true panic rises up in me for the first time since setting off into that accursed rainforest. But there's nothing I can do now. Nothing but hold on tight, as the world is sent spinning out from beneath us. The sky is blurred, and our environment changes. Aaliyah reaches out for my hand and I grab it, shielding my eyes with the other from the flashes of painful light that streak across my vision. The earth shakes, and the elements are redrawn before our eyes, with that terrible monument at the center of it all. And so it goes, as we find ourselves getting progressively weaker and weaker. We watch as the worlds fly by, worlds of shimmer and shadow, a world of black sands and enormous white trees. Train tracks go between them, stretching out behind hillocks and mountains in one direction, and seemingly to eternity in the other. I hear the sound of trains whistle, distant and familiar, yet strangely alive at the edge of my hearing. And then, this world is lost to the next in a whirlwind. A plain of ice. Mists swirl and whisper between the cracks. Distorted humanoid shapes watch through the cold from the ice's opposite side, bluish and white. My breath clouds and my body starts to shake. A monstrous shadow slithers around a nearby corner. Then, this place too is lost to the fog. An orange, rusty sky in a world of dusty red, grassless and barren. My head pounds as I struggle to draw in air. I hear Aaliyah rasp beside me, and I wince as I weakly look around for something, for anything. I don't know how much longer I can take this, but I won't die on my knees at least. I struggle to my feet and slowly raise my head as high as I am able. We have carried with us the circle of decayed mulch, the dead flowers. Aaliyah whimpers with her head in her hands, and there is Froggy, splayed out in his invisible jar. And that's when it hits me. The link. It's death. The monument carries with it the things that are dead, its circle of decay. Or perhaps they exist in all the planes, simultaneously. It is us living creatures that are the glitch. My thought is lost as a figure appears before me. A person we recognize. Ali and I both watch in surprise as Evan returns. Evan! I begin, reaching out a hand with aching, preemptive belief. But my teammate cannot hear me. He will hear no one, ever again. The man's eyes are closed and do not open. A bullet hole has punctured his forehead. His corpse slams to the ground, and thick dark blood leaks from the back of his head. His gun slips from his hand as his lifeless wrist smacks against the mulch. For a moment or two, we can only stare in horror. I hesitate, hand still outstretched towards our fallen teammate. And I cannot help but see the idol. There it is, right there before me, fallen from Evan's arm. There it lays. And I cannot let the opportunity to pass. I jump forwards, struggling with the throbbing of fiery pain in my head, and grab the idol up into my hands. I take it to the pool as quickly as I can and return the thing to the water with a small splash. Right to where it began, my motions an exact reverse of the manner in which it was taken. I wait, and I wait. But nothing happens. It needs more Deborah, I say to myself. So even as I can feel my last burst of energy draining away, I draw the vial of the monument's water from my shirt pocket, the vial I took when we first found it. I uncork the glass and reach up to pour some of the liquid back in the little groove at the monument center where it came from. Professor? Aaliyah murmurs weakly beside me. And below us, the water shimmers bright and blue, illuminating the little totem. And for a second, there is total silence. I draw back my hand and recork the vial in shaking fingers. And the silence is broken by the rush of heavy rain all around. It falls like a sheet from the sky, and then just keeps on coming. The splashes and ripples in the monument's pool again match up to our surroundings, and I stumble back and away from the water. The little idol remains in place, mostly submerged. As the world shifts, though it doesn't hurt as much this time, I realize as it slows to a stop that I've been holding my breath, and I allow an intake of air as I groggily look all around me. A recognition. With lungfuls of fresh jungle air and a desperate sigh of relief, I see that as hoped, we have returned to the beginning, to the rainforest. We are back. Molly is here. She is crouched right by Evan's body and weeping quietly. She must have seen them go down too. I step towards them, and my foot taps against glass. Looking down reveals our deceased little frog, though it would seem he is back in his jar. Dave is here too. He glances at me, pale-faced and jaw set. He is shaking, and his eyes are wide and staring. He adjusts his belt and looks back to Evan's body. "Dave!" I call to him. "What?" But he interrupts. "It's death, Professor." His usually grim-set voice is trembling. The monument carries with it the dead things. He clears his throat. "Evan," I try to explain it to him. "I told him we needed to get the monument to you. And he..." Dave looks away. "He killed himself." The rain falls heavy. Dave regains control of his voice. He wipes rain from his mouth. He's a fucking hero, and we all know how he struggled. I think the changes from world to world were just too much for him. To this, I say nothing. I just look between the two men as Dave steps over to him, wavering a little. But he crouches down and gently fixes the man's collar as Molly weeps into his shoulder. Time to go, I think. So, we leave that accursed place behind, back through the route that brought us here. I'm the last one to leave the clearing. And I don't forget to quickly grab up Evan's gun as I go. No use leaving it behind. Who knows what perils we might face on the way back. It's good to be armed. But I make a decision as I attach the dead man's gun to my belt. The butterfly flitters past, a picture of purple and gold, and I look from the little creature to Dave before me, adjusting his own weapon as he walks, hung tight in its holster. I choose not to check how many bullets are left in Evan's chamber.